Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2! It's a challenge, Kakarot!
Now that the Ki Blast concept has been explained, this would be a good time to turn things up a notch. Introducing signature moves and super blasts. The super blast and signature move aspect of the game, as one may have guessed, represent the damage dealers and in many cases relate to the character at hand, such as the Kamehameha. These techniques require ki to execute, and the amount of ki consumption differs from character to character. Some of these attacks can be charged, while others are released upon buffer animation. Once this concept is understood, then the execution of such techniques are fairly simple to understand. Just remember the mechanical boundaries of such techniques beforehand. Unlike games like Street Fighter II, Mortal Kombat, or even Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, signature blast moves such as the Kamehameha must be initiated outside of the step-in barrier. Of course, this is with the exception of the super explosive wave. If the player were to initiate the signature blast move within the step-in barrier, the character will automatically perform a backstep or backflip prior to performing said attack. This is important to know, for one should always be aware of what options are available in any given circumstance. Though one can always perform a signature blast with the correct amount of ki, performing the technique at the wrong time may give the opponent an opportunity to defend. To this degree, many great Tenkaichi 2 players have considered the super explosive wave technique to be one of the most dangerous techniques of the signature moves. This is due to the fact that it can be initiated within the step-in barrier, eliminating the necessary time for the opponent to properly defend. Spatial limitations are not the only factor to consider when regarding the mechanical boundaries of signature blast moves. One must also consider the character's blast recovery time, which is approximately 2 to 3 seconds after the last technique's discharge. This is one important factor to consider when dealing with a spamming opponent. To know which technique to perform, one must know which attacks are available to the character of choice. Each character possesses 2 super blasts, the base super blast and the secondary super blast. Assuming the player possesses the correct amount of ki, to perform the base super blast, he would hold L2 and press triangle. In order to perform the secondary super blast, he would hold L2 and up and press triangle. If executed properly, the player will see the character perform the desired blast attack, and the ki meter will subtract the required ki relating to that attack. For the listed variety of signature blast types, the following information is derived from the archives of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2. The first type of blast relates to the Kamehameha. The Kamehameha type blast can be very powerful. When this attack makes contact, it does not only deal damage once, but a string of damage as long as the blast is still active. These types of blasts typically have a wide circumference, making defense a bit difficult, and furthermore, these blasts can be charged with respect to the charge meter, or can be initiated through a buffer animation sequence. The second type would be the Death Beam. The Death Beam type of blast is fairly powerful as well, but its damage is instantly dealt upon impact. Depending on which character is unleashing the attack, this technique may be unblockable. For this reason, it is important for the player to know the character. These blasts can be charged according to the charge meter, or can be initiated through the buffer animation sequence. The third type would be bladed. These type of blasts are based on the bladed attribute. In other words, these blasts consist of blasts resulting from the swing of a sword or construction of destructo discs. These specific blasts require no charge and are initiated through the buffer animation sequence. As a major perk, these blasts are typically unblockable, but not all of them are. The fourth type would be the super explosive wave. The super explosive wave can be performed inside the step-in barrier. As this blast can be performed without the backstep delay, characters that possess this blast are automatically held in high regard as dangerous characters, not only because of this instant attack availability, but also because the proper defense for this attack extends beyond a single dodge. The super explosive wave creates a wide circumference around the player. Anyone within this circumference will have to deal with the blast in their own way, or become victim to it. This attack deals 6 instilled attacks. These attacks were once believed to be waves, as suggested by the name of the attack. However, this is now believed to be false. The first wave unleashed by the player is considered to be a wave. The remaining 5 attacks are considered to be pulses. These attacks cannot be charged and always require the buffer animation. The 5th type of blast is the rush attack. The rush attack is one of the most effective blasts available in the game. There are 3 reasons for this belief. First, the rush attack is considered to be unblockable by the base guard. There is a stronger form of guard that can deflect the opposing attacker, and this will be discussed later in the project regarding defense. Second, the rush attack is an animation sequence once the attack connects to the opponent. Once the animation begins, the opponent has no choice but to let the animation conclude before continuing combat, at which time of release, the opponent is thrown limp and requires recovery. Third, the player's character is able to become the blast, so to speak. In other words, there is no projectile. The player's character covers the distance and deals the damage accordingly. All rush attacks require the buffer animation sequence. There are different types of rush attacks to consider, all of which are based on 3 categories. Category 1 relates to speed and range. The first level of speed and range presents a rush attack that is extremely fast, but covers short distances. This cannot be directionally influenced. The second level of speed and range presents a rush attack that is a bit slower, but covers a greater distance. This attack can be directionally influenced, noted as the average rush attack. The third level of speed and range presents a rush attack that is much slower than the first 2, but covers an even greater distance. This attack can be directionally influenced. The second category relates to the assault location. The first level of assault location presents a rush attack that is always performed in a specific part of the arena. The wall, or grid, will never get in the way. A good example of this would be Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta's rush attack. The second level of assault location presents a rush attack that is performed wherever the initiation took place. Therefore, if both characters were right next to the wall or grid where the rush attack made contact, the rush attack conclusion may result with the opponent being thrown along the wall or even into it. The third and final category relates to the release trajectory. The first level of release trajectory presents a rush attack that will send the opponent in the upward trajectory. A good example of this rush attack is performed by Kid Buu. The second level of release trajectory presents a rush attack that will send the opponent in a forward trajectory. A good example of this rush attack is performed by Goten. The third level of release trajectory presents a rush attack that will send the opponent in a downward trajectory. A good example of this rush attack is performed by Super Saiyan Goku. The next type of blast would be the volley blast. Some characters have the volley blast ability, which is one of the more suitable attacks for keeping the opponent on the defensive. Like the super explosive wave, volley blasts require the buffer animation sequence. This type of blast can vary from a considerably small amount of blasts to a higher range of blasts in succession in a given direction. However, the accuracy of this blast may vary depending on the character. The 7th type is the Berserker. This type of blast is presented with breaks in a chain of blasts. There are only a small handful of characters that possess this type of blast. Some characters produce more damage and attack quantity within this blast. Super Android 17 holds the most attacks in the Berserker blast. Others have a significantly less amount, such as Super Janemba. The 8th type would be explosive. This type of blast is created through concentrated explosive energy near the opponent or directed towards the opponent. These attacks are extremely difficult to defend against, for much like the super explosive wave, they deal several hits of damage. These attacks require the buffer animation sequence. The 9th type is the energy ball. This type of blast is created as a concentrated ball of energy that the player simply throws in the opponent's direction. These blasts can be seen in a variation of sizes. While most of these can be used on command of the attack, the Spirit Bomb must be created first, prior to execution. These attacks can be charged according to the charge meter, or by means of the buffer animation sequence. Now, there are other types of blasts that resemble both the projectile blast and a rush attack. For example, Final Form Frieza's Psycho Lock Smasher is presented through means of a projectile, but once the projectile makes contact, an animation sequence will begin. Ultimate blasts are performed in a similar fashion and are derived from the same types of blasts, but are built to deal more damage than the signature Super Blast. The ultimate blast is performed by holding L2 and down and then pressing triangle. However, while the base Super Blast and the secondary Super Blast are based on possessing the correct amount of ki, the ultimate blast is based on whether or not the player's character is in sparking mode. Sparking mode can only be obtained by charging one's ki beyond maximum and filling a second meter shown where the ki meter would be, or possessing a character that has a support blast relating to instant sparking mode. This can only be done if the player has the blast stocks to do so, which will be presented as a small blue orb below the character's icon, with a number representing the number of stocks available. Once sparking mode is achieved, a single blast stock will be consumed unless a support blast specifies otherwise. Then, the ultimate blast will be available. The main idea one should take away here is that the Super Blast abilities exhibited in Tenkaichi 2 widely vary in comparison to many traditional games. Additionally, when a player is in sparking mode, he is presented with the opportunity to activate the sparking combo. The sparking combo is very flashy and presents a decent amount of damage, and if executed properly, will allow a terminus consisting of a base Super Blast. To perform, the player must engage sparking mode. Then, perform a neutral dragon dash while charging triangle. Strictly while in this circumstance, charging the triangle button will not activate ki blasts. Instead, it will act as a transitional attack that presents itself as a heavy finish hook. Once connected, the player would then spam the square button as fast as possible to deliver as many melee attacks as possible while the sparking mode runs its course. Right before the blue meter that represents the player's sparking mode runs out, the player would then hit triangle once more to send the opponent away via Smash Aftermath. Unlike normal Smash Aftermath, there is no Smash Terminus regarding charged melee. Instead, this presents the opportunity to follow through with a Super Blast, activated by holding L2 and pressing triangle. Take note that the initiating neutral dragon dash can also be replaced with dragon homing following a smash attack. Now that we have listed the general understanding of Super Blasts, let us now move on to the next episode, where we will discuss priority and further defense. Until then, this is Zero Annihilated, and you are watching Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 Evolution.